Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to thank and pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hi everyone, and welcome to Room by Room, the Home Organization Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We're champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element, with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Gabriella Yastra, coming to you from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's begin.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode. I'm Dina Sargeant, and I'll be the host for today's show. Now, routines, as every family knows, is pretty much the main way each individual member knows what to expect. In my household, each of us has a set day to do our laundry, which always stays the same. But like every household, it has its ups and downs. With separate schedules, we each can go away for a weekend or change our own routines, which can create friction in finding some sense of normalcy. Our guest today works with clients to create organization in their home. Her method is to create a personalized schedule that works for them, instead of using a generic template that is barely ever followed through. She's a certified professional organizer in chronic disorganization and the owner of DNQ Solutions, Diane Quintana. Thank you so much for joining me, Diane.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to be here. Good to meet you, Dina.
It's great to meet you too, and thank you so much for joining me. Now, there are a few sections of your background that really stuck out to me, which was a few specified areas from life transition, hoarding, and even ADHD organization. How much of those areas really affect what our routine is going to look like?
Oh, my goodness. Well, if somebody is challenged by chronic disorganization, this means that they have struggled all their lives to get organized. The disorganization impacts their personal relationships, and they've tried many times to help themselves by reading different books or trying different strategies. So chronic disorganization, when someone is challenged by chronic disorganization, it means that they really haven't found any routine or habits that fit their learning style or the way they think. So that's that. If someone is challenged by hoarding, that's a whole different ball of wax, and we can talk about that separately. Mm-hmm. And ADHD, as you probably are aware, is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which means that it's the next shiny thing that attracts somebody. So they could be in the middle of a routine and an idea sparks. So they stop the routine and go off to do that thing and forget to come back to the routine. Mm-hmm. So creating short routines that are very easy to follow through help the person who is challenged by ADHD. So the studying that I've done in these areas really helps people who are challenged by these things, and it's a passion of mine. I am always thrilled to be helping people find a way to operate that's best for them.
Mm-hmm. And how did you start finding an interest in really helping individuals sort of understand what their home is going to look like and what home organization really is?
Oh my goodness. Well, home organization is different for every single person. I like to say that your home should be organized as much as you want it to be, as much as it works for you. So if you can function in your home and you can find the things that you want to find, and everybody is happy living this way, then you can have piles of things here and there, so long as it doesn't impact your safety and you can find the things that you want to find and everything flows the way it needs to. Just let me fix this. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Bothering me. So because organizing is a very personal thing, and obviously everybody lives their lives differently, the organization in the home has to suit the individual. It's not that the individual has to fit into an organizational standard. It's the organizing. It's backwards, right? The organizing has to work for the person and the family and the way they want to run their lives.
Mm-hmm. And how did
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. How did you really find an interest in wanting to go into this kind of industry?
It happened sort of organically for me. I started my career as a teacher, as an elementary school teacher. And if you don't mind, I'll just sort of share the way this all happened. My husband and I were married, and we moved to Bangkok, Thailand, where we lived for 4 years, and then I taught school in Thailand, and then we moved to Hong Kong, where our first child was born, and then we came back to the United States, to Connecticut, where I went back to teaching in the elementary school, and our second son was born. And then we moved to Singapore. And so, as you may understand, it takes a bit of organizing to move families and households across great divides, across the world, and manage all of everybody's schedules and keeping everybody on a routine and with their habits. So when we finally moved back to the United States the last time, the administrator of the school, and I came back to the same town and so the same school, the administrator asked me if I'd like to be a substitute teacher at the school. And I knew how the school operated. I knew the teachers. And so I said, sure, but what do I do if you don't need a substitute teacher? And she said, oh, I'll find things for you to do. So I organized the supply room. I helped teachers organize their reporting. I helped other teachers organize their student centers. And one of the younger resource teachers came to me and she said, Diane, there's a place for people like you. And I thought, gee, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, it's called the National Association of Professional Organizers. So I looked into it and I thought, well, I do love organizing. And so that was the beginning of my career as an organizer. The school helped me figure out what my tagline was and what the name of the business should be. And the parents all thought it was great because then I could work with them in their homes. So it just happened sort of organically. And then we moved from Connecticut to Georgia. So I had to recreate my business. And in the meantime, I found the group. It used to be called, I joined. I didn't found it, but I found it in that I learned about it. It used to be called the National Study Group on Chronic Disorganization. And I thought, well, this really appeals to me because really this is about educating people who learn differently and who operate differently. It's now called the Institute for Challenging Disorganization. And I'm really passionate about that. I think it's so important. Each person is an individual and we all learn differently. So if we take that into account when we create organizing systems for people, then the chances are the system will work for the person instead of the person trying to fit themselves into the system. It never works. when you try to do that.
No, and that sounds like a amazing way to sort of find an interest in that, and sort of something that you built organically, and the amount of support that you had as well. That's amazing to sort of hear. Thank you so much for that brief introduction into all of the topics that we're going to be discussing today. Before we get deeper into it, I'd love to start with a little warm up and maybe learn some of your interests.
Okay.
Now, to start off with, do you have a favorite book that you could share with us?
Well, as you might imagine, I'm a huge reader. So I typically have 2 and 3 books going at the same time, usually a professional book and then a novel and other things. So the book that I read most recently that I really loved, a novel, it's called The Book of Lost Names by Kristen Hamel. I think I got that right. Yeah, Kristen Harmel is her name. And it's a wonderful tale, so a World War II type story, and it's a bit of a love story and a bit about World War II, and it's just a very involved and wonderful story. I didn't want it to end. So if anybody's interested, The Book of Lost Names, it's truly engrossing.
What was it about that you, what was it about it that really made you find an interest in it and really want to keep reading it?
Well, I belong to a book club, so the book club was meeting, and of course I wanted to be able to join the discussion. So anyway, so there you go. That's what introduced me to the book. But it's a story of an 80-year-old woman. It begins when she's 80, and she reads a newspaper article that tells her that this book has been found, and it's not called The Book of Lost Names, but this fabulous book has been found, and she realizes that it is the book that she, as a young woman who was in France at the time of the German occupation, used as a code to keep note of the children who were of the Jewish children who were evacuated through France, hidden, and so they would go by night, and they were hidden in houses in a village, and they were and it's a war story, So if you know anything about World War II, you know that these children were separated from their families, and she and a couple of other people who were working in the resistance wanted these children to know who they were before their names were changed so that they could escape France and go to safety. Anyway, so it's really a beautiful story of a courageous act that this woman had.
No, that sounds like a really deep and meaningful read to sort of have and to sort of learn a lot. If you don't know a lot about World War II as well, that seems like a great way of finding out a little bit more, and in a way that is it's just a beautiful meaning to the story.
I thought so. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to films, do you have a film that you have enjoyed recently that you could share with us?
I have not seen this movie yet, but it's one I want to see. And it's with Anthony Hopkins, and it is called One Life. Okay. And I like Anthony Hopkins as an actor, and I think this is another war story. So I seem to be on war stories right now. But anyway, it looks like it's a good dramatic movie where my husband calls them thinking movies, where you're going to walk out of the movie theater and maybe have a conversation with somebody about what you've just seen.
No, that sounds like a really good good film. And I
Yeah.
do love Anthony Hopkins as an actor as well. I feel like he is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's such a interesting movie. I think that definitely the theme sort of fits in with what doesn't fit in at all with what we're talking about today, but
Yeah.
it's still a really interesting area to sort of dive into. And I do love the historical films. I think with certain people of my friends, I love to go and see certain films, and that's definitely when I would go see with my dad as well, because he would go be like, this is historically what happened. This is exactly the way it was supposed to look.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting if you find the right people to go with.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, are you listening to any podcasts at the moment?
I do. I love to listen to, I don't know if you know him. His name is Willie Geist. He's a Today Show anchor. It's a TV show here in the United States. And he's on Sundays, and he has Sunday interviews with just different interesting people. So some are actors and actresses, and some are more business-related people. But it's always, he seems to find very interesting people to interview. So I tune into Willie Geist on Sundays.
Geist. Okay, I have not heard of him, but I'm definitely going to make note of that to go and find out, because I think it's interesting when you see interviews about other people's lives and sort of get to know other people from themselves as well. They tell their own story, which is, I mean, if I had to sit here and tell my life story, there's no way I'd be able to answer anything because I wouldn't know how to explain it. But the power that it holds of someone else telling their story, I think is just amazing.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of way of interview.
Yeah, I love his interviews. He's thoughtful, and he doesn't ask the obvious questions. He asks, more leading questions, which gives you a bit more background to the individual. And so he tends to talk to musicians and authors and people of interest.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a really good listen to. Now, thank you so much for answering those questions. And I hope that we're all warmed up for asking even bigger questions today.
Absolutely.
Now, to start off with, we're talking a lot about home organization and sort of the routine that come in with that. But how would you go ahead and define home organization to start off with?
So, I think for home organization, it's important that things are. Let me back up a minute. I believe that people should have in their homes what they need, use, and love, and not a whole lot else. So the things that we need, obviously, we need clothes, we need furniture to sit on, we need pots and pans and dishes and glasses and cutlery. We need books. We probably love artwork or photographs, maybe pillows or blankets to snuggle up with. So if we look at the things that come into our home through that lens of what we need, use, and love, then we can organize those things in our home by the way we use them. So let's just say you have a house with, and it has several rooms in it. You define the use of the room. So the kitchen, you cook in the kitchen and possibly eat in the kitchen. Maybe there's a dining alcove with a table, and that table might be where you do some artwork, or maybe it's also used for a puzzle. So when you can define how the room is, or how the space, doesn't have to be a room, it could be a part of a room. When you can define how that area is used and then bring the things into that space that you use in the room, the organization takes care of itself because you will put the things nearby so you can find them. So the things in the room need to support the function of the room or the area, however the space is defined. And they need to be the things that you love, use, and need. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that does make sense. I'm just thinking the minute that you're saying that, especially when it comes to dining room tables, like you don't just use that for eating quite often. You use it especially for families, you use it to color, you use it to create arts and crafts. So the definition of that room is extensive in terms of how you would use it and what materials should be nearby to that.
Yeah, exactly. So if there are young children in the family, you may want to have a cart or a small caddy of school supplies nearby. Writing paper, pens, pencils, markers, a ruler, pair of scissors, maybe a hole punch. So, so that the things that are used in that space are easy to put their hands on. So you're not searching, because that's where you find a big time waster, when people are searching for the things that they need where they want to use them.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And now when we're talking about the family day, the family routine that comes up, how do these established routines contribute to the foundation of an organized and well-managed, as we would say, household?
Sure. So it's my opinion that everybody who lives in the house needs to contribute to the running of the house. So chores don't need to be just one person, right? Everybody in the family, everybody who lives in the house can do chores. So some things become daily chores, things that you do every day, like return the dishes and glasses to the sink if you have been eating not in the kitchen or at the dining table. Let's say you took something to your bedroom as a snack or something, then those things need to be returned to the kitchen so that they can be washed and put away. So some things need to happen daily, and then other things, I believe, can be spread out through the week, so that you don't end up spending an entire Saturday or Sunday cleaning the house. And which, I mean, who wants to spend their Saturday and Sunday cleaning the house? I don't, It's, you want to spread those tasks out through the week. Like your family, where everybody has a day to do their laundry, maybe there's one day where a certain room gets dusted, or one day where somebody does the vacuuming, or, those sorts of, or one day where the bathroom is cleaned, that sort of thing, so that the chores get spread out, and also that they're rotated among the family members. Everybody can share the joys of cleaning the bathroom or running the vacuum cleaner or dusting, but the other things can happen every day. So just the general maintenance in the home can happen every day.
Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like the daily task. What would if there were to be like 5 things that you would have to do every day, like a morning routine, for example, what would be the 5 main things that you would sort of suggest people do every day?
Make your bed every day. Hang up your clothes, hang up whatever is in your space. So if there are clothes that that they aren't dirty enough to wash, and you think you might want to wear them again, make sure that they're hung up and they're not on the back of a chair or folded or tossed on the floor. Shoes put away, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to list those things. I'm going to say, in general, tidy the bedroom. So make your bed, tidy the bedroom, and absolutely the kitchen counters need to be wiped off every day. But I think that's an evening task. In the evening, when the final meal is done and the dishes and the pots and the pans and everything are done, then the kitchen counter is wiped off, and you know that the kitchen is ready for another day of lots of meals and family and everything that can happen. Because during the course of a day, things get left on the kitchen counter. So at the end of the day, if the kitchen counter can be cleaned, then that's a really good thing. So that would be a daily task too. Mm-hmm. And then if you have plants, you might want to water them, or if you have a dog, of course, there's care involved in that, or a cat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I feel like myself struggle with, and especially a lot in my household at the moment, is the fact that everyone has different times. So my family all work at different times. I work during the day, whereas my sister works in the evening. So there's so many different ways that the patterns, everyone's always coming and going. So no matter if I tidy up the kitchen, she's there to add her dishes to the sink and to make a mess of it and start eating late and everything. So there's that idea. And how can we sort of tailor the schedule to make sure that everybody is on track and everybody knows what is supposed to happen throughout the day to make everyone else's lives a little bit easier?
So I'm a huge believer in checklists and worksheets. And you can create this, or it's a shameless plug. I mean, I have an Etsy shop where these checklists are all available to download, and they're fillable, so you can tweak them however you want. But there's one that I have that has daily, and then Monday through Sunday down below in small blocks, so that you can fill in what you're doing when. So if you, for instance, had a worksheet or a checklist like this, it could be that, your name is next on whatever day with whatever task, and your sister's name on whatever day with whatever task, posted so that you can see it, she can see it, your parents can see it, whomever lives in the house. Mm-hmm. And then up at the top, there's a space for daily tasks, and you could make a list of the daily tasks that you want to do. There's plenty of space for multiple people to list that. And then a checklist of a Monday through Sunday. So you just tick it off as you do it. And I think whether my checklist works or you want to create one yourself, having something where you can say, and this is what I am doing, and so now you need to say what you are doing to contribute to the management of the responsibilities of caring for this home.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think everyone, maybe like family meeting, for example, as to how, okay, this is what we're sort of expected in each week. One thing that I try to do with my sister is sort of have that meeting each week, so we know exactly, okay, I'm going to work this day, she's out that day. So we kind of know where everyone is. But when it comes to a routine, sometimes I'm out 4 days a week, or sometimes I'm out 2 days a week. Yeah. So how do we find that kind of normalcy if every week things are sort of changing, every week there's different schedules, that's no set time?
Some things remain the same, like even if you have different days or sections of a week where you're out or your sister's out, some things remain the same. So, I mean, when you say that you're out, does it mean that you're not there working, or you're off work? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you would be at home for those 4 days, or?
Usually, yes. Yeah, usually would be.
Okay. So for the days that you're home and that she's not home, then you might pick up more of the slack. For the days that she's home and you're not home, she would pick up more of the slack. So, you can trade off that way. And if, as you suggested, you have a weekly meeting, you can sit down and say, okay, these are the days that I can pick up more of the chores. Which are the days that you're going to pick up more of the chores, and trade it off week to week. But some things will always remain the same. If you're at home and so something, you would always make your bed, you would always tidy your room, you would always bring the things back to the sink, you would always, tidy up after yourself. So those things would remain the same. It's just the ongoing other things that might change.
Okay. And this is the really big question.
Okay.
Are there any specific routines sort of recommended for different areas of the home?
Like?
So, for example, if there's, if in the kitchen or in the living room, are there any specific things that are sort of different, that's sort of like, it's different, so I'll just tidy up after what you've used? Or like, for example, dusting is a huge thing in the living room, but it's not really a huge thing in a kitchen. So are there any routines that are sort of different depending on the areas?
Okay. So bathrooms, let's just say bathrooms. You want to make sure that that bathroom vanities, the area around the sink and the toilets and the showers all get wiped down, at least, cleaned out once a week. You really, it's a sanitary thing, right? So you want to make sure that those areas are attended to every week. In the living room, for instance, or even a dining table, once a week, you could take a cloth and wipe the surfaces off. But what you want to try and avoid are the piles of things. So, right? So in the living room, if somebody's reading a magazine and they leave it there, and then somebody comes in with a different magazine and they leave it there, and then somebody else comes in with another magazine and they leave it there, after 3 or 4 weeks, you could have a big stack of magazines or catalogs or whatever it is. So you want to be mindful or pay attention to the stacks that accumulate, because that's where clutter creeps in. And I like to say that really clutter is innocent. It kind of walks into the house and waits for somebody to deal with it. So the idea would be that if things start to accumulate, then whomever is tidying up the living room takes a look through and sees what they can remove, because it's not needed, used, or loved, right? Going back to those 3 principles.
Yeah, it is very important. I'm slowly learning, I think, especially after no longer really being taken care of by my parents and sort of having to do it by myself and having to learn. It is a lot harder than my parents ever made it look like doing. There's so much. It's not just even tidying up after yourself, but it's the deep cleaning that you'd have to do probably about once a month, like a deep surface, even the little cornices that you're going to have to wipe. It's the making sure that shoes are put away. And I feel like especially one area of the house that is so different is the garage, where everything that's not in the house somehow ends up in the garage. It's not needed. All the decorations that you take out once a year is all stored away in the garage. And I've always wondered, how exactly do you sort of balance the things that you don't always take out, like the special Christmas decorations, or how do you find a way to store them that's not taking up so much space? Like, do you keep all of them each year, or do you sort of declutter them down and see exactly which ones you want to keep after a year?
So, every year I add to my Christmas decorations.
Okay.
I love Christmas and I love to decorate, and I think that people can decorate as much or as little as they want to. The bigger question is how you store it, and I think it's important to note that if decorations become tired looking, or you no longer love it and you're not going to use it, then you either toss it, donate it, or something, remove it from your collection, really. So specifically in a garage, you want to make use of the vertical space. So containing things in tubs that are appropriate for ornaments or for hanging decorations or whatever. They need to be watertight, sturdy tubs, and then they can go on shelves, or some racks can be made clear up to the ceiling. But you want to make sure you use the vertical space in a garage, because you want to be able to put your car in the garage.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You want to be able to use. So getting back to using a space for the way it's intended, right? You want to be able to use the garage for your car, but it can also be storage for other things as long as you use the vertical space in the garage.
Okay. It's such a hard thing because I have 2 cars in my house, but we only can fit 1 car in because of the amount of stuff that's also in the garage.
Sure.
And it makes it difficult because you want to sort of enjoy the little knickknacks here and there. There's stuff from when we go traveling, there's little trinkets that we sort of like to keep, but we can't find any place to keep them in the house, so we sort of store them away. And it's trying to find a balance of like what we really want to keep. And especially now that my sister and I, we're so busy, we're barely able to sort of enjoy a lot of the stuff that is at home, enjoy a lot of the books that we sort of keep. But there's that idea of, okay, we still want to really enjoy the things that are there, and we don't really want to get rid of them if we hope that we will someday find a place for them.
Okay. So, okay. I see where you're going with this. Yeah. I get it now. So for things that you're not actively using and you cannot actively display, but you're holding on to for a future use, I am going to caution you to set a boundary on first several boundaries. How much you keep and how long you keep it, those 2 boundaries. So when the things overtake the garage, then you have too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it becomes a question of, when do you think you would actually be putting these things to use? Is it a reasonable 5 years down the road, or is it more like 15, 20 years down the road? Is it within grasp, or is it a pipe dream? Because I know I have clients who have held on to things for a very long time, and we come across them after decades of holding on to them, and they say, "Oh wow, this is taking up valuable real estate in my house, and it's not something that I really care about anymore. Let's get rid of it and make space for the things that I do care about now."
Mm-hmm.
So just pay attention to that, just to how long you want to hold on to these things. But vertical is the way to go. So containerize and go vertical. And you can stack tubs if you get them about the same size. You can stack them, or you can also, there are ways to attach holders to ceilings that it would go above the car in the garage so that they, the tubs can actually fit in up there. So that would be something to investigate. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to go look at them. I feel like there's so many different storage solutions, especially nowadays, that there's too many to the point where you're trying to figure out which one's going to be the best. So
Yeah.
I think everyone sort of knows every household is very different when it comes to the amount of space that you have in the house. There's some houses that don't have garages where you can store items in, and that makes it a little bit harder. So I really hope that I sort of get to figure out which one will work for me and just sort of shop around a little bit more. Thank you so much for answering those questions. And I'm getting a whole lot more insight as to how I'm going to be focusing on a little bit more and not neglecting the house as much as I have done until now.
Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm. I'm glad it's helpful because I think everybody I think that everybody needs to sort of buy into the fact that if you live in a house, you have to take care of it. Simple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not just a place that you live in. It's a place where you actually can enjoy time in and do spend a lot of your time in. I think, especially in the last few years, a lot of people are really starting to work from home, use their home offices and things like that.
Uh-huh. Sorry, somebody's outside.
That's fine. It always happens when you're at home, so it's all good. So this leads us really well into the practice and habit part of the show. And are there some of your own practices that you do in your home to maintain a bit of organization?
Sure.
So what would be a practice that you would do on a day-to-day schedule, maybe on a routinely roster that sort of maintains organization in your home?
So I do what I was suggesting to you earlier. I have a daily routine. I have daily tasks that I do. And because as you just heard, I have a dog. and he sheds. So every day do you know what a Swiffer is? Do you have Swiffer there? It's like a dry mop.
Yes.
I
know what it is. I don't have one, but definitely know what it is.
Okay, so I use this Swiffer to pick up his dog hair. And my husband and I live in a townhome, so it's many stairs up. But that's okay. It's a good exercise for me to go up and down the stairs. So every day I Swiffer the floors for several reasons. One, because it keeps the house cleaner. I don't have to do as much deep cleaning. It picks the hair up and it gives me exercise. So, I mean, those are all three really good reasons to do that. I also take we use Lysol here, Lysol wipes, and I walk around to the different bathrooms and I take the Lysol wipe and I clean off the area by the sink and in the sink and around the toilet. It's not a thorough cleaning of the bathroom, but this is just something quick and easy so that I feel like the bathrooms are good until I get around to doing a deep cleaning, which is once a week. And the other thing that I do every day is, of course, I make my bed and hang up my clothes, and I have lots of plants, and so I water my plants. So those are my daily things, and believe it or not, I can do all of those things in 20 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't take long. It's just very quick, run the dry mop on the floors very quick, take a Lysol wipe and go through the bathrooms really quick, water the plants, make the bed, and out the door. So having a daily routine that I practice every day makes it really easy for me to feel comfortable that even if I ran into a neighbor who wanted to come in for a cup of tea or something, I'd say, sure, come on in. No problem.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part as well, is the fact that when people want to come over, especially in my household, the minute someone says, oh, I'm coming over this weekend, suddenly there's like, oh, we have to vacuum, we have to mop, we have to wipe everything, we have to put laundry away. Like there's that intense rush that you have the day before. So with that routine, that definitely makes it a little bit easier to maintain. It makes it easier. And especially 20 minutes. I mean, if your mind can focus on that every morning for 20 minutes, there's going to be a huge change in your day as well, where it's a little bit more focused, I would assume as well.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. The other routine I have is that every evening when I'm finished work for the day, I sit down and I think about what I want to do the next day. Not talking about my daily routine. I'm talking about other things that I want to do. What are my appointments? Is there something I want to write? Like I write a weekly blog, so do I need to write my blog the next day? Do I need to pay attention to my social media? Because I put things up on Facebook and Instagram. So, how is that coming? Do I need to attend to that? I have a class that I teach once a month. So do I need to put some time into working on that? Or is there a presentation coming up that I'm doing? So what are the things that I need to do the next day? What appointments do I have? And is there any other obligation that I have? Do I need to see family? What's happening? So I make my list of the things that I want to do for the next day. I do this every evening because inevitably something comes up and I might decide, well, I'm not going to attend to all of this that I set out for myself to do. What didn't I do today that I need to do either the next day or 2 days down the road? So by doing that, believe it or not, research shows that when you think about your plan for the next day, you take the things off of your mind. So you're not trying to remember what you need to accomplish. You're not trying to remember the errand to go pick up the dry cleaning or to get to a bakery or to get your groceries because you've written it down the night before. So I sleep really well.
That's good to hear. So do you use a physical planner to sort of list out everything?
I do.
And how is that different to, I know a lot of people, they use online planners, or does it have a different sort of sense of organization than what you use a physical planner for?
Yeah, absolutely. Because an electronic or a digital planner, you can't see all the details in one spot. You would have your calendaring in one spot. You have your notes in another spot. You have your reminders in another spot. Or if you've set alarms, those are pinging. With an electronic device, while I believe in them, I mean, I certainly carry a phone and I make my grocery list in my phone because it's so simple to carry with me and to delete things as I get them. But but when you write things on paper, again, research shows that the kinesthetic action of making the words on the paper helps to imprint them on your brain. So that's one benefit. The second benefit is that you see it all on one page. So you can open the planner, you see everything at a glance. You don't have to go scrolling through this page or remembering to check this other page in your digital planner.
Okay. Because I've always wondered, especially because I'm really busy, I always forget to bring the physical planner with me. I have one at home and I use it for home tasks, but that only because I always forget to bring it with me. So I always end up transferring everything online. But I don't see a sense of urgency when I do see it online. I don't see a sense of, okay, that's the list I need to do. I'm like, okay, I'll tick it off tonight. If I need to go and change my sheets and wash my sheets, I'm like, okay, I'll go and do that later. But I never actually get around to doing it because I've always felt like there's no sense of urgency because it's just on that day to day, and I never really take it seriously.
Right.
So I guess if it's in a physical one, that's why I've always wondered how beneficial it is. So it's good to hear that there is some science behind the physical
Yeah.
planner and the actual use of it.
I think they're coming back because they are so much easier, and I mean, truly, even though, and to be honest, I take my physical planner with me when I go to a client's house, but I don't carry it with me routinely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think the act of writing it down and just knowing that I can look at it is a huge benefit to me.
Okay. No, that's very helpful. I'm definitely going to consider that when I'm looking for a planner that it's a little bit helped me to be a little bit more organized this year. Now, this leads us really well into the open mic section of the show. And this gives you a chance to talk about anything that you're passionate about, or maybe something that you want to promote on our show as well. So in the last minute, I'd love to give you the floor and share what's on your mind with us today.
Well, sure. I have a planner, by the way, that I created. It's undated. So, and the reason that I did it that way is because I know some of my clients will use a planner one day or 1 week, and then they won't use it for a while. So because it's undated, then you put the date in yourself and use it as much as you want to use it. So that's one thing. And then I created a deck of cards with another organizer, and it's called Organize Your Home 10 Minutes at a Time. And so each card, there are 50, just like a deck of playing cards, each card has one task. If you do one card every day for 50 days, you would have you would be a lot more organized in your home.
Okay.
But so just picture this. Each card has one task, step-by-step instructions to do the task, and it will only take you 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. So you can do that as a day-to-day sort of thing, or once every 2 days. And when you know that you're home, you can sort of be like, oh, I can have 10 minutes to be able to do something. That is
just do one thing.
No, that is a very great product to sort of have available. And that means each member of the family, each member of the household can sort of take part in it as well.
Sure. Everybody, you can just sort of fan out the cards. Everybody could do a task. Just everybody pick a card at random, and then, just do what the card says, and you'll be done in 10 minutes, and then everybody can go play.
Wow. That's a great chore list as well for families, giving their child different chores as well. They'd be like, okay, go 10 minutes to do that. That is actually a really great and versatile idea.
Yeah.
I really love that, actually.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, some of the cards at the bottom, they say child friendly, so even young children can do them. So,
that's cool.
Things that, maybe tidy the entry, put the shoes away, for instance. It would be so simple for a little child to do.
Oh, that is very cool. I'm definitely going to tell a lot of my friends about that, because I think a lot of them are really struggling with what their child can do. I think especially trying to figure out, other than I'll just pick up toys and put it away, there's more that they can do to sort of help around and teach them a little bit more about responsibility as well. So I'm definitely going to share that with them. So thank you so much for sharing that.
No, you're welcome. Yeah, and I would love if anybody who's listening wants to follow me on Instagram. I would love that. I'm on Instagram and my blog. I have a blog too.
That's perfect. So I'll definitely, if listeners do want to find out a little bit more about you, what would your Instagram handle and your website be for them to go to?
So my Instagram is DNQ, my initials, _solutions.
Okay, perfect.
And the website is just dnqsolutions.com. It's
Okay.
I keep it pretty simple.
Yes, that is very simple to remember as well.
I find simple works best.
Yes. And you definitely teach that as well. So that's great that you're sort of taking that into your business as well. I'll definitely have the link down below for everyone who's wanting to find out a little bit more, and go check out Diane's blog as well and find out different ideas that she shares throughout that. And it's each week, isn't it? There's a new post each week?
Each week. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Diane, for joining me on the show today and for talking about this and for sharing a lot of ideas on routines and how it's not that hard to sort of have that set routine to make sure there's an upkeep within your home. I think it's a very important thing that you're mentioning today.
Oh, thank you. It's been such a pleasure talking with you, Dina.
And I hope you guys learned as much as I did when it comes to roles and routines. And I'll see you all in the next episode.
You've been listening to Room by Room, produced by the Home Organization Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes like this from across 10 life management perspectives can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and other podcasting apps available on your smart devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it so we can grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at ho.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Gabriella Yastra. Thanks for tuning in.